Jesus is inviting me to join him on his mission. This is an important mindset change for most U.S. church members. Jesus does not give me a mission to do for him. Jesus is on a mission and he invites me to come with him. I am not a Jesus salesperson. I am a Jesus follower. The U.S. has become one of the largest mission fields on the planet. The river has moved, like the picture we saw earlier. The odds are very good that right now, wherever you live in the U.S., the people in your neighborhood and workplace are largely unconnected to a local congregation and may not be connected to Jesus at all. We are no longer a church who is servicing a community filled with a variety of Christians. We are now a church who finds itself needing to be on a mission in a mission field. As neighborhood missionaries, we have a simple mindset. In order to join Jesus on his mission, all we really have to do is enjoy people and then seek, recognize, and respond to what Jesus is already doing in the lives of the people we are enjoying. So the first question we have on the sheet there, explain the difference between being a Jesus salesperson and a Jesus follower. What difference does this mindset change make for you?
A Jesus salesperson is the one that walks up to you at the gas station and starts talking to you about their church and stuff.
Okay. Just out of the blue starts talking about your church. Anybody else?
I would have a comment to make about that. Jesus is his own.
Jesus is his own salesperson. Doesn't he just sell it for him?
He doesn't need our help in that area.
Yep.
I think in terms of like being a missionary, a Jesus salesperson is like the best way for me to bring people to my church is, yeah, like Carol said with the gas station thing, like I'm just going to go up to as many people as I can and just talk about Jesus as long as they let me, and I'll just do that with as many people as I can. Whereas like a Jesus follower, when they're looking at mission work, they're saying, my primary goal is to live as much like Jesus as I can, and in showing love, Jesus love to other people, even just that can be enough to bring them to Jesus. Okay. Or for Jesus to start working in their lives. And then maybe along the way, I can tell them about my faith. Okay.
Also, I think like when I think of a sales, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Can you think? Great. So like when I think of a salesperson, I'm just like, I automatically I think of them as liars. And they tend to lie about what they actually are selling. And so sometimes they present a different Jesus to grab people's attention.
Yeah. They feel like they got to sell it, so they're going to point out all the good things and not perhaps some of the hardships that might come as part of being a Christian. Yep.
Exactly.
Thad, what were you going to say?
You said a Jesus salesperson, it's more of a job. But it should not be a job for us to be a Jesus follower and split business.
You guys hear that?
Kind of.
Okay. Seeing it more like a job, like a salesperson, that's their job versus something. What did the flip side of it versus something I have to do?
Yeah.
Versus something I get to do versus something I have to do. Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind often on Highway 43, there's that one guy that parks by the side and puts out a sign that says, come talk about Jesus. And I'm like, you're putting yourself out there, so great. Obviously, this guy loves Jesus. But I always think, like, who would stop? Like, who's going to stop to talk to really only people who already love Jesus? Because he's parked by the side of the road, but really, like, you're expecting people to come to you. Like, so that you can tell them what you, and I just think, unless you have any connection with them, that's not going to work. Like, I just feel like you have to have connection with people for you to be able to sincerely tell them about Jesus. And I don't think that probably works, although maybe he has stories. I mean, maybe people stop all the time. I don't know.
What benefit is there to having a connection with people?
If you have a connection with someone, then
People that care about you. What were you gonna say, Hannah?
I was just gonna say, like what Alonzo had said about the salespeople lying to you. Like if you have a connection with someone, then they're gonna trust you, and they're gonna say, this person's goal is not to try and hook me in. They actually care about me, and they're saying this because they care about me.
Yeah.
So the guy at Van Ness in California, downtown San Francisco, with the bullhorn,
Oh, yeah.
yelling out that, the end is coming.
Yep.
You better find Jesus. Probably didn't have much luck.
Might not,
That doesn't work.
I remember growing up in Milwaukee, there was a guy who had a big station wagon, had at least 4 speakers, one in every direction. And that thing was painted by hand, the end is coming. And he would walk, you'd just drive through the streets and
End is coming.
it was enough to make you go, hey, well, he's doing something. I mean, a bit crazy if you ask me, but something, I guess.
But you see him as doing something. A
Well,
non-believer is gonna go, that guy's wackadoodle, I want nothing to do with it.
I would have said the same thing. What makes sense to you about the metaphor of the river moving? The second question there.
That is an example of the paradigm shifting.
Okay, a paradigm shifting, right?
The paradigm is not 10, 20 cents.
Not a paradigms, but a way of seeing the world. Good. Stan offers some excellent clarification there. Yeah, I'm forced to face the thing that how I see the world, I have to force myself to see that the way I see the world has to shift, right? Because the world has shifted. If I continue to try to look at it one way, it's not going to be effective because the thing I'm aiming at's moved.
I was saying, like, it used to be where like some of the first buildings in a town would be churches, and like most people would just go to church, and there was like the select few that didn't or whatever, but now it's less centered on like Christ, everything's changed.
Okay. Yeah, it's different. Yep. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we need to meet people where they're at. I mean, like the picture of that bridge. Obviously, if we'd say, oh, we just gotta make this a better bridge, well, that's not helpful. That's not where the river's at.
Yeah.
And so like us just saying, we need to make our worship services better. Well, that's not where if the people aren't coming, making our worship services better is not gonna help anybody. We have to meet people where they are. I mean, although I do think it's important to have good worship services, you need to meet people where they're at.
Which probably is a good way to jump into question number 3 then. What challenges do you and your congregation face now that the river has moved?
Change.
Well, you can't just invite them to church anymore. You've got to tell them who Christ is
Okay.
in a friendship setting.
Yeah.
What Mark is about the second question mark, even if sometimes it can really like.
Okay. Yep.
It's gotta be like more friendship, or else they'll just think, oh, he's doing this.
Okay.
Somebody asked him.
Yeah.
The difficult part about that is our inability not to be very good at understanding or seeing when something's happened where the quote unquote, time is kind of right. It's kind of interesting how many people who've grown up in the church, go to college, drift away, get married, suddenly have kids. And children seem to be an interesting way.
Time to come back.
To get you refocused back to things. And but yeah, the change part is just something that, quite frankly, you're not going to have any control over.
Yep. Dan.
Or getting them to come to church in person. everything has become a lot more.
You mean, the term is non.
Stan just felt suddenly uncomfortable as he looks at the internet camera that has got people online.
The more like church services sort of stuff.
Okay.
Things now more centered on.
Okay.
You can
Present
do-
some unique challenges.
You can do this at home and whenever you feel like it,
Sure. Which can be a benefit.
which can, but then again, I make an appointment
Sure.
to go to church.
Yep.
And I look forward to it. It's special.
Yep.
As opposed to, oh, Stan, you got an hour, let's go and
Let's go
watch
watch
the
church.
sermon.
With the online stuff, I mean, you've got a wonderful musically inclined family, but boy, I can tell you what, I could not get into singing. Sitting in the office chair, you're not kind of dressed, you're thankful nobody can see you. And suddenly there, you know, it just, I don't know, it didn't get it. This is what now.
What are their challenges just as far as sharing and inviting people and talking to people about Jesus are there?
Well, like getting people to come to church and like talking to people. Like today, everybody is focused on making things easier. So when they think about going to church, they just think of another hard thing, so they don't want to do it.
Okay.
Like a chore.
Okay.
I think something that's hard sometimes with inviting, not necessarily inviting people to church, but just the whole missionary thing, is that there'll be like a lot of times where it doesn't end in someone coming to church or doesn't end the way that like it would ideally. And just saying, kind of like that part where he was talking about the steps, and the last step is the step where the Holy Spirit works faith in their heart. And say, like, just reminding yourself that if it doesn't end with them going to church, you can say, maybe I was just one of the next steps. Like maybe in 10 years, something's going to happen and something that I said will pop into their head. Like saying like, I might just be a little step in their life, in the whatever journey they have that ends with Jesus or something.
Okay. I guess the one mindset shift I thought just as a congregation is not to expect that people are just going to come, you know, and just say, okay, well, we're here and the doors are open, so let's just wait for people to come. But instead to say, okay, our job as followers of Jesus now is to be going with him. And this is a place that we can invite them to, but ultimately more evangelism, I think, is going to be done individually with people that you have a relationship with versus congregationally, and see maybe the congregation as, okay, we'll provide the opportunities for you to invite people to, but I'm not sure just as a congregation, like how effective congregational evangelism is going to be, because it's going to be, I don't know, I think I probably mentioned it last time, like you guys will be far better evangelists than I ever will be. Because people will see it, I'm the salesperson, right? Because I'm a pastor, I'm the Jesus salesperson. They're going to say, you're doing this because this is your job. You do it, and it's going to be much different because you are sharing Jesus because, yeah, you care for them. And they don't see this as something you have to do, but something, boy, if they are sharing this with me, it's something they get to do. And so, you know, that's a mind shift. I think a mindset change of just even at a congregational level to say, okay, as individual followers, we're going to go out and do this versus waiting for the church to do it.
Another thing is, from reading so far, I do not get the impression that the goal is to get them in the door of a church.
Yep.
It's more to introduce Jesus to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can do what they will, as opposed to inviting people to church, I feel like it's a different, the emphasis is in a different place.
No, and that would be, I think that's a good point to make too, of saying, here, I have this relationship with Jesus, and I'm going to talk to you because of that, and I want to talk to you about Jesus, and maybe I'll get to the point where you want to come to church, or maybe it's just going to be, I'm going to tell you things and share some things that might help you in whatever particular situation you find yourself in, that I know because of my connection with Jesus. Yeah, that it isn't necessarily, okay, my entire goal here is to get them is to hand them off to the Jesus salesperson who's at church.
We have a board.
My higher up.
How many people everybody's brought in the door?
Turn this into a giant Ponzi scheme.
I think it's even simpler than that, because so obviously we have this connection to Jesus, and we're trying to have these connections with other people. And like, as the book talks about it, it's not like, oh, and then you're going to tell them about Jesus right away. But as I, meet people, and I might share, struggles or hard things I've had in my life, and they might, as we get to know each other, that's naturally going to come up with the conversation, because you have this connection with them now, and they're going to see your connection to Jesus. Like, when it was talking about what it is, Jesus enjoyed people. He just enjoyed being with them, and just that kind of, I'm just going to be with you, and we're going to enjoy each other, and that's what's good. I mean, because if you believe in Jesus, that just comes out. Like, they're going to see it.
There is an old school, it's still very relevant, sales technique. It's called benefit sales. And the first word, it's need. Whatever you're pushing, the person doesn't need, pack it up, go on down the road. What person doesn't need?
Jesus.
Yep. And then, I mean, it can be anything from as simple as when things really don't go your way seriously. Where do you turn?
Yeah.
Where's your rock?
Yep.
Who do you go to?
So what are some challenges you see that are going to come with that mindset shift?
Of doing it this way?
Yeah.
Older people, us.
Older people are going to be part of the challenge.
Well, yeah, because it makes them uncomfortable. It's not what they're. I'm just speaking generationally.
Yeah.
A lot of getting them out of their comfort zone. This may come strange. It's harder to get an older person out of their comfort zone than it is younger people. That's just, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Just that.
I think I'm gonna see that people are really just like, oh, I gotta go to work, I gotta take care of all these yahoos, and now I gotta go find other people to build relationships with. Like, who's got the time?
Okay. So time.
Your friendships take time.
Yeah.
They have to be nurtured.
So both time on your end and the fact that you can, I think, make the same argument for the people you're trying to have a relationship with, right? How busy they are. And so, how do you just time-wise make that work? It's going to force you to get out of your comfort zone, because that's going to.
People talk about how many friends they have. Generally, are talking about acquaintances.
Yeah.
Because I have told this to a few people. I said, I got that many really good friends. I count my wife, it's 5. And I am lucky to have those 4. I am blessed.
I've read that, like, nobody talks about the miracle of the Bible that Jesus had 11 close friends when he was in his 30s. Like, that's a miracle in itself, right? I read an article, so it was in that same thing, and it said the average American has 3 friends. Like 3 people who are actually, right, because mostly it's acquaintances. 3 friends.
3 good friends. Any other challenges that you can think of? Simply because question number 4 is going to give us what gives us hope in spite of these challenges. So I just want to make sure we,
Jesus.
Okay, so we're moving on to 4 then. So, so what is it that gives us hope in spite of these challenges? Jesus will give us hope. What else?
You're not going to get discouraged if you don't get the results that you want. because you know you are not in charge.
Okay,
It's not like you've got to go out and suddenly, I've got to start making more friends so I can talk to them.
I don't have a quota.
Yeah, you know what? Jesus will
How many times
put
you
the
contact them
opportunities
last
into
week?
my life.
Okay,
So the stress is off me.
okay, Jesus is out there working and I get to just jump in
Yes.
and help him.
I was gonna say something closer to what she said, like as opposed to being rejected, which will probably happen a lot.
Yeah.
Who knows? You would have planted a seed regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm either planting or watering, right?
Right.
And either of those is okay if I don't see any results, right? That like kind of like the goal has shifted a little bit as far as, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not the one who gets to harvest it, but I'm watering it, or maybe I'm planting it, or yeah, who knows?
Yeah, or what
Yeah, setting it up for the next person. What are you gonna say, Hannah?
I was just gonna say, usually with this stuff too, I always am like I just can't mess up God's, like, God is God. Like, it's like almost like cocky of me to think that I could mess up God's plan. Like he's in control. I'm just a person. Like, I'll do my best, but at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not me. Like, I don't have to worry about that because I just can't mess up God's plan. Like,
Okay. I think another thing just to keep in mind is who's doing all the work.
God.
Certainly not me, right? God's doing it, right? God's going to, through the gospel, bring them to faith in his time, which means God isn't putting the responsibility on me to create or get this person to come to faith. He's just simply telling me, here, I'm going to give you opportunities in the context of all these relationships you might have to talk about me, right? To share with them some words of encouragement or something that's going on in your life or whatever, right? And through that, now God is going to work. But he doesn't put on your shoulders, oh, you are the one through whom, God is going to, you've got to bring this person to faith. Instead, God will use you, yeah, like you said, maybe to water, maybe to plant. Maybe you get to see them come to faith and get to see the harvest of that. Or maybe not, but it's not on you. That's nice where you're not, that pressure kind of gets taken off of you. Anything else that gives you hope in spite of the challenges we talked about?
Another thing is this is not based on Bible knowledge. You don't have to You don't have to quote Bible verses.
Okay.
You don't have to know where in the Bible it says this.
Yep.
It's personal experience.
Yeah. I get to talk to how it's actually impacted my life.
Yes.
Anybody else? All right, let's move on to number 5 then. What surprised you about Jesus' secret missional weapon? I was going to point you to
what
where.
is it?
What?
What is it? I promise I read the chapters, but what is it?
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, it's just that he enjoyed hanging out with people. This simple, super simple strategy of just enjoying people.
Okay, we're good. Yeah.
I like how you preface that with, for real, I read this.
I did. I know what you're talking about now. I just must have missed the sentence where he said, "This is Jesus' secret missional weapon."
Chapter 6, page 57.
Chapter 6, page 57.
First line.
You get no higher than a B in chapter 6.
Did you know that Jesus had a secret weapon for fulfilling his redemptive mission?
I see it.
He enjoyed hanging out with people.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So what surprised you about that? Other than the author wrote it. It's super simple. Yeah.
It's not like there's not like a plan, you have to do this, and then this, you have to do that.
There's no flow chart,
Yeah.
no outline. Yeah.
It's just, be nice.
Yeah. Hang out with people. Celia.
Doesn't really
Doesn't really seem like a weapon. True.
It's not a weapon. Yeah.
What do you think could keep you from imitating his strategy?
being shy.
Okay. Shy.
I don't know if this is really like that I'm Christian.
Okay.
The fact that I'm just being shy and I don't respond to people.
Okay.
I mean,
Whatever.
when I did people are like, "Hmm,
Okay. If they're mean to you, don't feel like talking to them.
That's a nice word to use. I have another one that you can't say. In church, mixed company. Or
Anything
Yeah.
else? Things that could keep you from imitating his strategy.
the odd thing about those 4 friends of mine, all 4 of them know that I'm a Christian, and all 4 of them, even though one's a Catholic, are not.
Okay.
And it's, one, he's in California. When I was at the constantly, once a month, he'd feel me out on, you still don't play golf on Sunday mornings?
Still go to church.
Yeah, go to church. Yeah, kids, he told the soccer coach, kids cannot have practice at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. That ain't gonna work. Sorry. Video, we'll look at it.
Some other things that you think that could keep you from imitating his strategy? Okay, sometimes you might just not want to do it. Yeah, sinful nature just might say, yep,
also sometimes it's
okay. Okay, time. I think time, right? I'm just going to get so busy, or I can be so busy that this is the thing that gets pushed to the side because I've got so much going on.
Not so much in our case, we're older, but as a youth, peer pressure.
Okay,
It's not cool.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't cool when I was little, to necessarily,
yeah,
One of the old sayings I used to have about the South doesn't apply anymore. And that was, is that I said, when we first moved there, I said, that one of the differences between California, particularly, and Alabama was, is that in California, if you went to church, you were weird. And in Alabama, if you don't go to church, you're weird. And that's
changing now.
Yeah.
I still think that there's a positive. I still think we're part of the Bible where people have like this positive view of it, but I don't know that carries over to people actually attending church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
It still looked positively, even if they don't go.
right,
And they probably aren't going.
right.
Didn't you, wasn't there a line in there somewhere that there was a survey, something about people consider themselves to be Christian, and then they said, how many times do you go to church? It was 3 times a year.
Yeah.
New Year's, Easter, and Christmas.
Like you're not.
Yeah, Christmas, Easter, and then one other
New
one.
Year's. New Year's.
New Year's.
Then they go to church, and they only go
A few times.
Yeah, so in the book on page 40, it says, even in church communities, the percentage of churchgoers actually attending worship on any given Sunday hovers between 18 and
2%.
Yeah.
Which means a fifth.
Yeah, fifth. 4 out of 5
Yeah, are not there.
are not there. Which I think that just helps. I think those things can help you, again, even in the South, readjust your perspective on things to say, yeah, we're in the Bible Belt. So maybe let's up that a little bit just because of where we are. But it's not like we can look around and go 4 out of 5 are going to church, or, that the number is still going to be one where we go, it's going to be less than 50%, which means more often than not, the people we talk to are going to be people who aren't going to church rather than are.
I am of the belief that the only way you break a habit is you replace it We have another habit. And not that I don't like to use that word in terms of going to church. It's just, for us, it's just, we don't even give it any thought.
Yep.
It's just what we do. And, you know, it's not like we never say to each other, you know, what are we doing Sunday morning,
Yep.
you know, or Saturday night? We gonna go to church tomorrow? It's just, you know, it's almost the opposite. We're not. It's because generally, you know, we're out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when, you know, you have out of town guests and, you know.
Yep.
And then again, now I'm starting feeling guilty about, well, maybe just snatch them and say, you know, how about going to church with us? 'Cause
We're going.
We're gonna go, and
This
so
is our
for breakfast, you're gonna have to make it yourself.
So how can Jesus help you overcome those things that could keep us from imitating his strategy?
T-R-U-S-T.
Okay, trust.
I think one that kind of goes back to, like Dan was saying about his friends. Like, so it says, Jesus invites us to offer our friendship and time to people, even if they don't yet want it. Why? Because that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, we have to change our expectations, maybe, because I might give my time and my friendship, and this person might never believe that I see. But that doesn't mean that I've done the wrong, because I've done what Jesus wanted me to do. That's what he did. Just, offered your time and offered your friendship. And that person knows you're, I know you're a Christian. You might never see the end of that, but that you're still doing, I think maybe just changing that, your attitude, that's still the right thing to do.
Yep.
And yeah, it takes time and effort. I don't know, but I guess it's a different way of looking at that kind of stuff, I guess.
Two, I think the expectation or the shift in expectations of I'm not doing this so that, or maybe the end goal is different, right? That I'm not doing it so that with the hopes that I see this specific result, or rather I'm doing this because this is who I am as a follower of Jesus. And as a follower of Jesus, here's something I get to do among people that God has put me. And yeah, I might be simply with how I live, watering a seed that was planted, or I'm planting a seed, at least in that person's heart, of, boy, this is what a Christian should be like. And maybe that bears fruit. And maybe it's down the road where I don't see it. Maybe I do. Or maybe it's something, like kind of like that thing where, the seed is planted and I have opportunities to talk about Jesus and it's just ignored and it falls on a hard heart, and that's not my responsibility is to make sure that the thing grows. It's just plant the seed, be out there having those relationships, and like Jesus, giving time to people so that those relationships can be formed.
Not getting into predestination, but I certainly believe that God did not put anybody on the face of the earth at the moment that he did, that he intended for them to go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
God wants all men to be saved, and come to the knowledge of the
Yep.
And whether, at some point it's circumstances. It's one of like 5,000 questions that I've got written down, I'm going to ask them and get up there. And then when I get up there, I know none of it's going to matter.
Great.
So,
I'll have my long list of questions I'm ready to ask, and then I'll forget them all.
Well, and knowing that you're a Jesus follower gives you but it's encouragement that you should always live your life in Christ's footsteps,
Mm-hmm.
because people are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Correct.
You should be doing that.
Yeah, that I'm doing this knowing
Yes.
that people are watching.
They're watching. They're seeing how I react to certain situations.
And that's a good
Yeah.
thing. This gives me opportunities. Now, instead of it, I got to do this because I'm a follower of Jesus, and now people are going to watch me if I don't do it. But instead it's like, I get to live this way because I know people are following or watching me. And because they're watching me, that might create opportunities.
Well, and a week ago they had the shooting and, I mean, I haven't watched a lot, but I know that near the very beginning, they showed a shot of the people in church. And I thought, that's really powerful to the rest of the world that, their world has come crashing down. And where do they go? But they go to church.
Yeah. How about the last one? Number 6, what is Jesus inviting you to do as a result of today's discussion?
We do a Dairy Queen thing every Friday night.
Go to Dairy Queen every Friday.
Church pays.
Yeah, every Friday becomes,
It's
just
free
like
for you
Friday.
if you bring somebody. It's
Yeah,
not a-
I think I missed that part of the chapter too then.
Yeah. Are you reading any of this, Hannah?
Yes.
No, that's funny because after you're said the same thing. It's like, so when are we gonna do this again?
Well, by getting out into the community as a church, everyone's
Just do the
laughing,
things.
having
Yeah.
a good time. It's like, well, who are you guys and why are you here?
Why are you enjoying
Why
each
are you
other so
taking
much?
over the dairy?
Well, Jesus actually inviting me to be a missionary because, since you're not sales person, you can't follow it. You go to people.
Okay, there are people you can go to.
Yeah. Well, if you spread joy to someone and tell them that you are a missionary, and they come to this Bible study,
Okay,
then they can spread the word too. So
Sure.
it's them who spreads their actions.
okay.
So we should spread the word.
Agreed.
Get out of your comfort zone. It's gonna be okay. I got your back.
Okay.
Trust me, I don't ask that much of you, really.
Okay. An encouragement to get out of our comfort zone.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Starts, at least in my mind, starting, and I've read the rest of the book already, but I think partly too, just starting to think, okay, so who are the people that I come into contact with on a somewhat regular basis, or that I see regularly in whatever way, and how do I see, okay, I gotta just be thinking about, I'm gonna look at them differently now, right? That if, okay, I'm a missionary, how do I interact with this person in such a way as to, what's the next step I can take to build a relationship with this person if I see them regularly? Whether they're at, Walmart, Publix, gas station. I don't know.
There's a quote in one of the chapters that says, it's better to do something imperfectly than to do nothing flawlessly. And I thought that was very encouraging because I'm gonna mess up. Because well, I am a pessimist too, so I'm like, of course I'm gonna screw things up. But you're doing something. I could do nothing. And for sure I'm not gonna mess nothing up. But it's better.
I can nail that.
Right, but I like that was a really good point to make. It's better to do something imperfect than to do nothing flawless. Which kind of said to me, right, you have to get out of your comfort zone, or you have to get started. Are you gonna mess it up? Yeah, that's it. That's almost like nothing to worry about because you're doing something.
Yeah.
I'd rather strike out swing than have my children. The road to hell, this is harsh, is paved with bricks made of good
Intentions. Yep. Yep.
The road to heaven is hell. There isn't even a road.
Road to heaven is made of blizzards.
And anything else anybody has as far as things we can do as a result of the things we've looked at? Or anything else that just as you read through the chapter that you thought was interesting or wanted to talk about or point out or discuss? Hannah, I don't expect you, maybe these were parts that you skipped.
Oh.
Now I have to say one of the things that I underlined or something. Be like, oh, this really specific phrase. was
And
really
just so you know, Alonzo, that smile was totally worth it. Me saying that and seeing that smile on your face was, that made it worth it, son.
Yeah, keep making fun of your daughter just to make Alonzo smile. Great.
I might do that, yep.
One thing I thought was interesting was the love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. How can you love your neighbor if you don't even take the time to talk to them?
To actually
even
know
know their
who they
name.
are.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I love my neighbor. I love everybody, but.
Who are they? Don't know. Don't know their name. Nope.
Nope.
I mean, it is interesting because I just think what's happened with church and people's relationship with God is just, just part of an overall thing that, has happened in, overall society as general. Everybody spends way too much time looking at a computer screen. They don't talk, they don't communicate, they don't just small little, kind of, gestures. I mean, you guys are old enough to remember, it used to be that when people were down on their luck 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was the church more often that stepped in and helped people out, and it was not the government.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, not all change. I understand change. There's changes always going to happen, but at the end of the day, not all change is good.
Yep. Anybody else?
I had underlined, it was in chapter 5, and he talked about, going to art shows and like in a middle school. And he said, I asked myself, what would be good news to these people? And I thought, that's a really good question, because no matter what environment I'm in or what I'm seeing, I think that's a really good, like, what would be good news to these people? Because I thought, yeah, I watch kids walk to middle school like every day, or, go to different things. And I thought, what would be good news to these people? Because I think a lot of people think, I don't have any hope. Nobody cares. So it kind of made me think, what do I want to share with these people? Because they need to hear that good news. They need to know somebody cares, and there is hope. And, there's a group that you can be connected to. Because I think Sandra, like, people are so, I'm all alone. I don't need anybody else. I'm just on my computer or whatever. And that's not good.
Yeah.
And I think people know that and maybe don't even know how to choose it. But so I thought that was a really good question. That I was like, I could ask myself, no matter what situation I'm in, what would be good news to these people? But I like that.
In chapter 5, when Sir Francis Drake's prayer reminded me of a song. I think her name was Leanne Grimes. To Cut Your West, a beautiful song. It was to her daughters about sit it out and name it. Leanne did.
Mm-hmm.
Pack up your muffins and quit.
All right, so for next time, it's going to be in 2 weeks. So next week I am gone.
So are we.
Well, that's why I did it.
No, we're not.
Anybody else gone that wants to?
That's right. We're going to be at Cove Lake in Tennessee.
If you want to, yeah. So if you want to miss a week, it's good. Just schedule all your stuff for next week, Tuesday. So we'll meet in 2 weeks on Tuesday evening. We're going to go through chapters 7 through 10, seeking what's already happening. As I mentioned last time, if I can print off the discussion guides, I'll send them to you, Alonzo. But don't forget, they're also found conveniently in the very back of the book. If you look on it starts on page 169. All I did is I copied the questions out of it, put it on a fancy piece of paper, and made myself look good by doing so. I can print some off for next time if you want the ones for session 3. If not, just they're on the website, our group page, as well as in the back of the book.
7, 9, and 10.
So 7,
8, 9.
7, 8, 9, 10. And it's going to be looking at seeking what's already happened. Anybody have any other questions or things they want to talk about? All right, why don't we close with prayer and call it a week. Heavenly Father, as we look at a changing world around us, it can be very easy to be overcome by both the number of people that are out there that don't know you or aren't connected to you, as well as it can be easy to be overcome just by our own feeling of inadequacy and fear about being a missionary to the people around us. Continue to be with us, encourage us through your word, and strengthen us so that we can be confident as we look at the relationships that we have and seek to use those relationships as opportunities to talk about all that you have done for us. Bless us as we go out and begin to look at people a bit differently and look to see how you are working in their lives so that we can join you on your mission of bringing more and more people into your family. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Bye, guys.